In the Spotlight with Barbara and Christina. Today we are so excited to have dream coach and author Deborah DeNicola. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you, Christina. Great to be here.
Okay, I have a really big question for you that sounds really ridiculous, but honestly, what is a dream coach? What is that?
Actually, it's someone who helps people understand their nocturnal dreams. And the way I do it is not by interpreting, but by asking questions so that eventually it becomes evident to them what their dream is about.
So would you suggest people write down their dreams every night?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I even went through a period where I tape recorded. I had a little tape recorder, so I didn't have to open my eyes, because people always say, I don't remember my dreams. And I have some hints about how you can remember them.
How are some ways that you can remember?
For one thing, when you wake up, don't move. You usually and keep,
Don't move.
keep your eyes closed. When you're first conscious that you're awake, keep your eyes closed and just think, was I dreaming? And an image may come back, and then you know how it comes back in chunks?
Yes.
So we actually have a dream body that is an outer subtle body, and so if you disturb that and jump right out into the shower, then you forget it usually. And also tell yourself before you go to bed, do a little ritual, light a candle, say, I'm going to have a dream tonight. Thank you, unconscious mind.
Right, so talk to your unconscious
You know what
mind.
I like what you said about the tape recorder. When I was in college, that's how I studied. I taped everything, and I knew it after I listened to it for like a week. So when you wake up, okay, you're closing your eyes, you're waking up, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to try and remember my dream. At what point do you take the tape recorder and say, okay, here we go?
As soon as you remember it.
Okay.
And if you don't have a tape recorder and you're going to write it down, just go over it kind of quietly and think of it as scenes, like you would in a movie. Oh, I was in the kitchen, or then suddenly I was at the beach, or and we tend to impose a kind of narrative on it and make it a story, and then you write down whatever. And as you're writing it down, you may even remember it different, but everything that comes up is, I think, relevant, and that's kind of been proven to be true.
Right.
Well, what if it's just like a really crazy dream, and like you're almost embarrassed to like write the dream down because it's like makes no sense, and are those like when you have a dream that's like that, like out of sequence and just crazy? Is that mean something different than a dream that's pretty straight and narrow with a storyline?
Well, it's interesting because a dream that has, say, 5 scenes that you do remember, when we work with those scenes, we actually find that it's telling you the same message in every single scene in a different way.
Oh.
So if you only remember
really
one, if you're blown away because it was such a big, confusing dream, just go to one section and record that, and that's enough to work on.
So you don't have to remember the whole entire dream.
And sometimes it's just an image. But I work with people with their eyes closed for like 45 minutes, and what your imagination does, and I think imagination is how we remember. I mean, how our memories are imagination.
What happens if you have a dream that's really bad, like something that you're just really fearful about? Mm-hmm. Does it necessarily mean that it's is it a message that you're fearful? Is it a message that it's bad for your life? Is it a message that a lot of times you interpret it as like a warning, a signal? Mm-hmm. How do you interpret that?
Sometimes say you dream something. I dreamt once that my child was drowning, and the first thing I did when I got up in my day was to call and make sure that wasn't happening, and
right.
just because some people do have those kind of psychic dreams. Right. But most often it's the new part of me. It's the little boy in me who's trying to assert himself. I have a son, so that child is drowning. That aspect of me is overwhelmed by the new direction I'm taking or whatever. So it's almost always a part of you. But then there are psychic dreams where you can say, well, I'll check this warning out. And if it's a really negative thing, like a monster's trying to get you or a dog's trying to bite you or something, I move you into the dog and let you feel the anger and the aggression, and then I ask you right at a certain moment, so where's that in your life right now? And you go, oh my God, that's how I feel about my boss.
That's interesting because Barbara dreams of cats.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I really never
happened with
do,
that?
but I did last night because I've always, disliked cats. I don't like cats because when I was younger, once a cat jumped on my back and, put its claws, and I always have this fear of cats. And out of nowhere last night, I had this whole dream that, and I remember it. You know how some dreams you don't remember?
Mm-hmm.
I remember this clear as day. I was in an apartment, and these cats, somebody kept leaving the porch door open, would come in, and I was like, could you please, I had a bunch of people there, and I said, could you please get these cats out? And every time they would take, a cat out, it was almost like another cat would come in, and the whole apartment was getting infested with cats, and I'm like, oh, I can't live here. It's almost like, mice. I just can't live with cats.
Well, different animals represent instincts. All animals are more primal than we are, so that's our instincts. And there are what we call universal or archetypal meanings. And I wouldn't tell you, well, a cat means independence. It means, it also means femininity. It means a bunch of different things. But it's important what it means to you. And your little story about how you were afraid of it, that's important. So I would work with you about your own associations, and then we would see if the independence thing is, maybe I'm being overwhelmed with all the independent steps I'm taking.
That's really interesting.
That is
very
interesting.
Yes, what about
That's
control?
like
You can't control a cat.
Yeah,
Right.
That's right.
That's the one thing I don't like. I also...
And you see, it's unconscious because you don't see the dream from the point of view of the cat. You see it from your point of view. So I have to move you into feeling what the cat's saying to you. And
you have to move me into
it's
feeling what the cat's saying to me.
So the cat.
That is really insightful.
Deborah,
Wow.
I know you wrote a book about this, and we're going to go into your book. We're going to take a break and go into your book when we come back and talk about what it takes to write a book and how the process and what you've accomplished.
Okay. Thank you.
Deborah DeNicola, who is an author, and she's also a poet. And she's written these wonderful books here, and this is her book, The Future That Brought Her Here. We have Where Divinity Begins, and this one here is The Original Human. She's also been featured in Allow Your Spirit to Soar. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her books today.
Right.
Well, because of my interest in dreams, I had recorded them for a long time, and I went through a period where I needed healing, and so I studied dream work more seriously. And being a writer, I began to have experiences with the dream group. I was in a group, and we had a mentor that was trained by the Jung Institute, and I began to be very interested in my dream life, but also see how it connected up to my waking life and the issues that I was facing. So I think writing is naturally a healing thing, and dreaming is also.
And that it's inspired. Now, which of these books is about dreams? Are all three of them, or is there a specific book that relates to that?
These two are poetry collections,
Okay.
and I sometimes write poetry from dream images, and that gets me going. And this one is a memoir that actually takes in a medieval history and science and a bunch of things, because it's a book about the society. I think it was Joseph Campbell said that myths are society's dreams, and our society is, our global environment is changing. Humanity is coming into a new era, and I sort of tapped into that through my dream life.
So what we're getting, first of all, I have a couple of questions for you. One is, you talked about this process of healing, okay? And you studied dream work and you wrote these books. What does it take to write a book? And how is it healing?
Writing itself, and going back to ancient times, has been a way to connect with the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people who write, and sometimes you find that if the book is writing itself, you just get this I think the higher power comes through you, and I certainly have always felt that way about my poetry. So when I began to write my own stories, it's all very piecemeal. And the way I teach my workshops on writing is to take just little tiny pieces of your first memory, or write about a place you've been to, or a secret you had to keep, or a piece of your mother's dress that you remember when you were...
Okay, so I'm getting the idea that it's important to recall things, to tape them, to, even if it's a small piece, if it's an image, and you have an interest in writing and an interest in dream work, and how are those two connected?
The main connection, I think, is, well, not only that it's healing, but what heals is the unconscious mind, the stuff that we don't know how to work from in our daily life because we're so busy. We're on this, say there's a little spotlight, and that's consciousness, but there's all this other stuff going on there. There's attitudes and judgments that you're repressing all day, and so at night your inner theater comes out and acts out some stuff for you, so you don't go crazy. I think if we didn't dream, we'd be crazy, because I think it keeps a balance.
It's a release.
For us. It's a release, but it also can tell you not only the things you're repressing and that you don't want to hear about yourself, but the part of you that's not being fulfilled or that's not being lived out to its highest potential. Like I had these dreams for a long time about Madonna. And
Madonna the singer, or
Madonna the singer. Well, the book's also about the Black Madonna, so that's kind of interesting. But I think it had to do with the part of me that was my shadow side, was that I wanted to get out there and perform. And I'm shy and I'm introverted, and it's like it was telling me, you can do this, you can get out there and do it.
And did you do it?
I was hanging out with Madonna and we were doing an act. And,
oh, wow.
But did you do
well,
it?
It helped me to make that conscious that, you know what, I've got to get myself out in the world a little bit more.
And put yourself out there more.
Yeah,
Right, so that's really, really interesting.
So it's the unconscious mind, which is so important, because a lot of the healing techniques that we hear about are about, you know, thinking and things that are conscious, but we miss out on the whole, you know, your inner goddess or whatever.
And that's interesting. So dreaming about celebrities, is there something to that certain celebrities would represent certain images? Like, okay, I had a dream about George Clooney. I'll admit it. What does that mean?
Well, that's pretty.
I was marrying George Clooney. That was nice, right? In my dream, I woke up like, damn, this is a dream.
Right.
Okay, so the questions you would ask is, you know, what do I think of George Clooney, and what's the George Clooney part of me that I want to merge with?
Maybe because I'm single,
you know,
I want to meet a man who looks like George Clooney.
That could have a lot to do with it. Yeah, but it's also your inner male, and he's a star.
Right.
And maybe, you know, it's your ambitions that, you know, you haven't totally come to terms with.
That's really, I would never have thought of that before about those type of, you just think those are like crazy dreams you have because you watch TV and that person was on the movie or something.
But your mind sort of collates and takes in data all day, and people say that, oh, I dreamt about that because I saw it in the magazine. But the mind takes that and puts it right with the emotion that's repressed. So what I do is I have you focus on the image, then you connect it to the emotion, and then there's like a, oh my gosh, that's what that is. So I can't tell you, you know, the cat means this, but I can get you there so that you're like, oh, now I feel it, you know. And so it's making the feeling conscious.
Right, and that's so important. It's like you said, the healing. The inside healing, and the part that I've learned from you today is like that all day long we're suppressing our feelings that come out at night. There's one particular type of dream that I just want to ask you about, where is like, you ever have such a horrible dream that when you wake up, you almost in your mind going, I'm hoping I'm dreaming, I'm hoping I'm dreaming, and you don't know whether you're dreaming or not dreaming.
Yeah, like a dream.
So you basically, you're going, oh my God, I pray this is a dream. And then, you know, you wake up and it is, you know, and what do you think that's about?
Well, you know, there's a lot of interesting things. There's personal dreams and the personal unconscious, and there's layers to it, and then there's the collective unconscious. Like a lot of people before 9/11 had disaster dreams, and there's people that have done research on that. I had a dream where a tsunami was coming this way, and then I turned around and it was coming that way. And then there were dead people on the beach. And it was when I was going through a really big change. The water is emotion. The different elements mean different things. And what was the dead part of me that I needed to just let go?
So it wasn't necessarily a disaster. Though when I was a kid, I dreamt of planes crashing all the time, and I was never actually on the plane. But I would see jumbo jets crash, small planes crash. And then there was on Long Island a plane crash that was very near my house, a big one that went down. And then I don't have the dream anymore.
Sometimes it's to do with that, but sometimes you just ask a simple question and the person will say, well, okay, well, it started when I was 8 years old, and that's when my parents were divorcing.
Oh, right. So it could mean something else, too. The plane could be representing something.
They're multi-layered. It means a lot of different things. It's like a holograph. You look at it from here, and then from here, and then from here, and you get this whole
And then you write about it, and then you're able to release it through your writings. And that's basically what you
and
teach
people
in the
who
workshops.
have people who have recurring dreams and they want to get rid of them, the one way is to make them conscious, so find out what they're about, and then they don't have them anymore.
And by writing them out. And a typical workshop that you would do on dream work, what would that look like? Would people be doing that? They would be writing those dreams down and you'd analyze them, or as a group? Because I know you do several workshops.
Yeah, I have different kinds of ways to approach it. I do have one workshop that is writing about your dreams, and we do a lot of free writing so that you're pulling in the unconscious mind. Then another workshop where we actually do the dream work, and I teach people how to move through it slowly and what kinds of questions to ask.
And that's wonderful. And you do these here in South Florida.
Yes.
Is there any workshops coming up very soon that you want to tell us about? Because this is fascinating.
It is.
Well, I'm planning a webinar that actually has to do with writing memoir.
And that's another
but I think of memoir as images, all little images that you put together, and it's what connects it all is the imagination, and the imagination is what heals. Like the psychiatrist doesn't heal you. How you revision your past, how you recreate who you were, and then when you finish writing, you're a different person to some extent because you've gone through this transformation.
You've raised your awareness.
Yeah.
You've actually taken things that you're not aware of.
You went into that subconscious.
And you made it. Right. You're aware now, and it's like a lot of times we're suppressing and hiding, and we don't focus on that. We just get up right out of bed and just say, okay, I'm going to start my day, and who cares about that dream or whatever. But now when you look at it, you're forced to address it.
I went to a workshop once, and the assignment was to write the thing you were really scared of writing. And so basically everybody went to the worst moment of their life and tried to write about that. And it was very freeing. And somehow you find redemption in it. You find the forgiveness, and you find the transcendence and how you can get beyond it. So the memoir classes are I give a prompt, and then I have you free write. I mean, it's like on falling in love, or on being a parent, or on your first day of school, and I do some visualizations where I take you back to the past.
And it's not in order, and I think that's what's really important about the memoirs is we often think we want to write our life story, but we think it has to be an autobiographical, like we have to start in the beginning and go through, and you're saying just to capture scenes, like you can capture your first day at school, and then you can do your wedding, or you can do the birth of your child, like it doesn't have to be in order.
And what happens when you have all those pieces, eventually you see there is a thread that's connecting them because it's all your conscious mind and it's all your life philosophy, and then you worry more about the editing process. But a lot of it is just generate the pieces, and because it's overwhelming to think, I'm going to write a 300-page book.
Right.
I mean, exactly. I started by just wanting to write about an incident of synchronicity in my life, and I had kept a kind of diary of synchronistic things happening, and I thought that was an interesting subject. And then more and more things were revealed to me as I was in the process, and I thought that I had some other stories to tell. And
so you started story by story. So that's very good advice for anybody who does want to write a book, is to take Deborah's advice and don't think of writing an entire 300-page book. Think of just writing one story at a time. And don't worry about the grammar, don't worry about the spelling, just get your thoughts out, and later on you can hire, and that's something you do also, is editing. You can hire somebody like Deborah to edit and put it together into an actual book. But you don't want to stop yourself, and I think a lot of people do stop themselves because they feel overwhelmed, they never start.
That's the number one thing is don't censor yourself.
Well, the reason you write a book, or the reason you're doing this, is twofold. One, it could be because I really want to write a book, and the other could be because I'm not addressing these issues inside of me, so I'm not really moving forward. And if I don't look at them, you know, then I won't be healing. So when I take your workshop, I don't have to be an author. I don't have to be a writer. I just want to do something healing. That's fine too, right?
Most of my clients are professionals, entrepreneurs who want to have some personal growth.
Right, exactly.
And are, you know, courageous to step out of the box a little bit and try something else.
Do some people at your workshops like not want to share? Like, let's say
Yeah.
I write something really personal that I need to look at or I need to address, but I don't really want to share it with the whole room. Do you allow people to have their privacy as well?
Absolutely. I just did a very small workshop, and often people will share more in a small workshop, but one person just didn't want to share anything. But then she told me later, that was fabulous. I got so much out of it.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. That is like the healing part. Not everybody wants to be an author. But the two things that you do, the memoirs and the dreams, it's actually connected because there's such a healing component out of either writing down your life, your memoirs, looking at your dreams, looking at the hidden meanings. It seems that it's all related to what you said, personal growth.
Right, and uncovering your unconscious beliefs that could be hindering you here right now.
Right.
Well, the other thing is that memoirs have been accused of being navel gazers and narcissistic, and it's all about me, it's all about me. But it is, it's a memoir.
It's about you. Yeah,
and then people worry about, if I tell this story, will my brother get mad at me? Or
that's a big one, right?
That stuff you can worry about later. First, just tell the story. You don't have to show it to anybody, and your brother can always write his version.
And not only that, there's another reason. Sometimes, like, in people's lives, like in Christina's life, she's a single mother, but she might write her memoirs for another new mother who's just becoming a single mother, to look at her trials and tribulations, to help somebody else. I mean, if I was to write a book, it obviously would be on addiction. And sometimes we write so that other people can learn from
Oh, right. That's what I did with my book.
Right. That's exactly what you did.
Successful Divorce was all about, and it's all about helping women going through a divorce.
Right.
And I could never write that book today. I had to write it then, right after I went through the divorce, and it was very healing.
If you wrote it today,
it would be a different book.
It would be exactly right.
Well, one thing I've learned is from doing dream groups, and hearing millions of dreams, is that actually we all have the same themes. So when you do write a book and somebody else picks it up, it does speak to them, because there's so many universal themes, looking for paradise, or finding the perfect couple, or climbing the mountain, or
right, exactly.
It's all human. We're all human.
Sharing human stories is very powerful.
Deborah, talking to you, it's really interesting to get to know what you do and to get to see how you have the ability, or obviously have studied a great deal.
Yeah.
You have a lot of training. If you were to ask our audience to give them the top 3 reasons why they should come to your workshop, just sum it up for us.
It depends on which one. But
Let's take the memoir workshop.
Which one's coming up first? You have a webinar, which would be private. You do from your own computer in your own home.
Yeah, well, that is for people to write memoir. And it's, well, for one thing, it's going to be healing. No matter what you come out with, you're going to have released something. The other thing is, if you have a business, or if you are in the healing professions, it's a very good thing to do, to have something to promote,
Right.
Yourself with. And you're helping other people.
Those are the three reasons
Yeah.
that we spoke about.
Exactly.
Those were the exact three reasons. And when you're writing, you're really authentic to who you are.
So how would somebody watching sign up for this? Would they go to your website or call you or email you? Where should we direct them to go?
They could email me. I haven't
Okay.
put it up yet.
Do you want to
What
say
is your email?
address
Because
for
we're
everybody?
going to be closing.
It's
it.
Deborah@intuitivegateways.com, and my website is www.intuitivegateways.com. And,
Okay, so
and
they
it's
can
like got
email
two
you?
places, dreaming and writing, that you
Okay,
can
so this way we just make
explore.
sure people can, because I'm sure everybody who's watching this is very interested. And do you have a date for this webinar?
No.
No. Okay, all right, to be
No,
determined.
I'm giving,
Okay.
I'm giving a poetry reading on March 19th in Miami.
Oh, okay.
That's my next sort of event.
Okay, and you love poetry.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
poetry is
So-
I don't know if
Right,
there's
so
time
that's
to read a
wonderful.
poem
Is
yet.
there, I don't know if we have time to read a poem or not. I think do we have, maybe we have like a minute? Is it a long poem or a short poem?
I
You can close with the poem?
I can read a short one.
Okay.
This was, I was feeling brokenhearted about a relationship that had ended,
Oh.
and I was just staring at the gladiolas that were dying in a little vase on my table, and so I moved into them.
Oh.
And it's just called the gladiolas.
Okay.
The gladiolas are poised like the women of Gauguin, the orange saris of their blossoms, green leotards of limb. They know their moment. Having swallowed sun and wind, their bodies ride a throb of breath, though they've been cut, transported, and put into a vase where darkness waits to drench their severed ankles, to soothe warmer at the knee, until the whole cellular spine is saturated with sea. Oh, let them laugh like bells, like xylophones, with orange and open notes on top of the dying, seconds in between. They know the air is humid with fog. They know the music around them in requiem. They know the oxygen they weep will mother the world.
Wow,
beautiful.
that is beautiful and very profound. And we want to thank everybody today, and thank you, Deborah DeNicola, for sharing all these wonderful insights. I know I've learned a lot today.
Thank
I have, and I'm
It's been
definitely
wonderful.
inspired to learn more.
Thank
Yes,
you both.
thank you.